it works, I think. How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Can you hear me well?
I can, yeah. Last episode, I think my audio was screwed up because it did sound like I was on the International Space Station.
Yeah, exactly. You had a kind of a metallic voice. I was wondering if you were not being replaced by some robot or something.
It's AI. You've seen all those Instagram ads for let this AI bot write your blog posts. Well, let this AI bot do your podcast for you.
Were you actually in Montreal or was it an AI?
I've never left the house.
Of course. Nobody has. Since COVID, we live in a simulation. We're all at home, actually, right? Even the football is not actually happening. Yeah, the World Cup is
it's just FIFA 23. I don't want to talk about the football.
What? I was about to ask you, the World Cup has started, man. Why you don't want to talk about football?
I'm still smarting from yesterday's result.
Yeah, guys, you started so well. I mean, the first 25 minutes, I was like, these guys are going to win the World Cup.
We played right, yeah. It was just, as an American fan, I always have high hopes but low expectations. And unfortunately, this year I went in with high hopes and moderate expectations, especially after that first half. But reality has a cruel mistress.
So what are you going to do on Friday? Because it's going to be England versus the US on Friday evening. So what are you going to do?
Well, I've been down this road before in 2010 in South Africa.
Yeah.
And it's difficult, but I will be rooting for the US. I hate when this happens. And I hate even more that we have two home nations in our group. I don't want to play and beat Wales. And I don't want Wales to beat us. I'd rather play not one of the neighbors. Please.
Yeah, actually, no, I get that. I will never get that issue because honestly, Finland, Greece, and Switzerland, that rarely happens, right? I mean, first of all, they have almost no chance. I mean, Switzerland is not that bad this year. Sorry, guys, by the way, we started recording and we're talking about football, but we have to. I mean,
well, I've been waiting 8.5 years for this.
Well, Wales has been waiting, 64 years or something to be in the World Cup?
Yeah, which is, again, another reason why I wanted to just sit there, watch Wales play anybody else, and cheer them on unreservedly, but I could not.
Yeah, it was fun. Yesterday I was at my local pub, and of course I had way too many pints, by the way, supporting the US. But it's not because I was supporting the US. I went to every time I went to the bar to order another pint, I think all the guys there thought I was American, and I asked one guy, says, "That's because of your accent." And I'm like, "What?" I mean,
yeah, especially in London, a lot of people have accents like yours.
I mean, I don't have a British accent clearly, but I don't think I have an American accent either. I have some nondescript in the middle of anything accent. But anyway, so they all thought. So I mean, it's a South African owned pub. They usually only show rugby, which was kind of fun the past few weeks with the rugby, actually. But so it was quite a neutral place to be at. It was not Welsh. It was not American either. So, yeah. But, yeah, I was also disappointed. I was supporting the U.S. I have this wager for 22 years now with a friend of mine. And I said, in my lifetime, the U.S. will win the World Cup.
Yeah, I think with this current crop of players, it's not impossible, but I think you might wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, now this time, would you foresee winning this?
I think if England can hold it together, I think they have a chance, and then perhaps Argentina. We'll see.
Yeah.
Right now they're playing Saudi Arabia, which I suppose is pertinent.
They're playing in an hour. So we're recording today, the 22nd of November. It's a Tuesday, and it's 7 a.m. And at 10 a.m. here in the UK starts the game. Is that 10 a.m., right? No,
10 a.m.
Versus Argentina. Indeed. In Argentina, I'm... the teams, and I'm sorry we're boring people that don't care about football, soccer for you guys in the US. The teams that I don't see, like every 4 years, I don't know how they're holding, like Argentina, obviously, like Brazil and Argentina, they are very high on my list, but I haven't seen them play. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, but Germany will win at the end. That's a rule of football, right?
Penalties.
I mean, Switzerland is not bad. They're not going to win, but I wish that they go to maybe quarter semi. You know what? There's another way to do that, actually. First of all, I'm going to play the little good luck thing.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
That was that came out very hot. Sorry for that, guys. Another way to do that would be to look at the rankings of our podcasts around the world, because we're a global podcast, so we have all the teams represented in our listenership. Currently, we're number 1 in Spain, so there you go. Spain as maybe number 1 spot. Number 2, South Korea. So Spain, South Korea would be the final, maybe.
Spain, South Korea, that'd be a hell of a final.
And we're number 3 in Argentina.
Oh, okay.
So they would be when the.
It's like reading tea leaves. Or do they still
do this the third place final? Because I think Europe dropped it.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if they've dropped it, but they certainly used to.
Yeah. I think so. That's a fun game, even though it's less. I mean, well, let's see. I love the first 2 weeks. Sorry, guys. Again, we're talking about football. I love the first 2 weeks because there's literally a game every minute or something.
Oh, I love it too.
Actually, it's very funny because I have so many client calls and meetings that I've dropped, obviously. And now for some, it's so funny because I had like 3 meetings rescheduled this week. And for some strange reason, they all happen in the gap between 2 games, right?
Yes. Yeah, I have also noticed that pattern.
It's amazing.
Totally okay with it.
Europe will be, and probably a lot of other countries will be very useless for the next 2 weeks, and then basically it's Christmas. So the end of the year is upon us already. Belgium as well, by the way. I want to say that Belgium for me is, I'm rooting for Belgium. I really want, I mean, of course I'm rooting for England, but I really want like a small country to win this for once. And Belgium has a good shot. Let's see. Talking about rankings, the number 1, I need to say this because every single time we release an episode, but number 1 in that country is Singapore. So thank you very much, guys. I mean, you're not in the World Cup. I wish you could win this, but thank you, because every single time we release an episode, we shoot up to number 1 in Singapore. So
that's great. I need to get back out to Singapore.
Yeah. Miss Singapore just for the hawkers, for the food, man.
Yeah.
And talking about, since we're a little bit on numbers before I go on, the releasing an episode on I wasn't checking the numbers because I don't really do that, just whatever. And when we released that episode for Pakistan, holy cow. I mean, usually the number 1 territory in terms of pure downloads is the US. And then it's usually second is the UK, and then you have Australia, Germany, or France, whatever, and Pakistan like doubled the number of the US. It was number 1 for like 2 weeks in a row. So thank you, people in Pakistan. You haven't criticized us and me for the description I've made about Pakistan. So I'm very happy. You're the judge of my. So thank you very much. It was a crazy weekly numbers. And the other thing I hadn't noticed is that we are suddenly, I didn't realize that we suddenly are very strong on Spotify as well.
I forgot we were even on.
Yeah, Spotify. we never really kind of talk about these we don't even ask for anything. So yeah, you can put us ratings there. You cannot review, but you could put stars. So if you want to do that, that would be nice. Don't put 1 star.
Yeah. Any star but 1 star. It has to be multiple stars.
If you hate us, just don't do it. The music. Forget. Where is the music? I'm gonna miss it this time. There you go. Yeah. So do you have your laptop next to you just in case the game starts and you?
No, we wouldn't have recorded this if it was during a game either of us were massively invested in. But no, I don't.
Yeah, I agree. That's why, guys. Yeah, that's indeed, he's right. That's why we decided to record this now, because probably the rest of the month we wouldn't have been able to record anything anyway. We want to make a shout out to Mark because he's been. Hold on, I need to.
You've never been to Canada?
To Mark.
I love that.
Thank you so much, Mark, because he actually gave us a shout out on an interview that he did for a blog that's called Atlas and Boots, which is a travel blog. And it's a very cool interview, by the way. He discusses about a lot of the stuff that we discussed, but also more. And he said that he was on the Layover podcast. He had an awesome time with Paul and Alex. And I couldn't believe that 2 hours had passed when Paul finally said goodbye to the audience and switched off the recording. And the reason he mentioned this is because I don't know if you remember, guys, we talked about the number of countries that we hit, and if you could count a country if you just had been to the airport. And for him, that's Athens. He mentioned that, I think, that Athens. Has he been to Greece because he's just to Athens because he's just been to the airport? But he calculated, actually, since for this article that he released on Atlas and Boots, atlasandboots.com, he calculated the number of countries been to, and that's around 70.
Wow.
So I don't think I've ever calculated the number of countries.
I don't think I have either.
I must be around that, I think. Maybe.
Yeah. Pretty close. I need to go back and check.
Yeah. The title of if you want to read that, is a very cool interview by Mark. The Travel That Changed Me by Mark Van Honecker. It was released on the 12th of November, so just like 10 days ago on atlasandboots.com. Check it out. Also, Giovanni on... am I going too hard, by the way, with the sound, Alex? I'm sorry. I'm interrupting
No.
you. Okay, good. Sorry, guys. Technical things. Because I'm on a different setup as last time again. Giovanni is at A350XWBULR, which is pretty
Very
cool.
specific.
Very, 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 very cool handle on Twitter. He says, I like your podcast so much. You make us flying with you, tailwind and blue skies to you, Paul and Alex.
That's kind.
That's very nice. Thank you, Giovanni. You really have a cool handle on Twitter, by the way. You must be a fan of the 350, as we both are as well. By the way, Twitter is going all insane, and I don't want to... I've lost... Like, it seems like every day, like, people are just, like, disconnecting their accounts, like, canceling their accounts. Because it's, like, some av geeks I was following, and I'm like, why am I not seeing them? And then I go, like, oh, something went wrong, and they just deactivate it.
Yeah.
It is what it is, man. And Chris Radcliffe, longtime listener.
Yeah, Chris is a top guy.
Whiskey
expert.
And he says, upgraded to a broken seat, which is what you said last time. Upgraded to a broken seat is now my work library of metaphors. Lovely. Yeah.
Upgraded to a broken seat. Ooh, yeah, I had never considered its metaphorical value, but yeah, that's a very good point.
Also, now that you've actually, it was not your AI, was it? But now that I've actually seen the Attaché episode of You at Montreal, I understand why you told us last time you were going on a diet. How many poutines did you eat?
Oof. I mean, like I said, I've been waiting 43 years to have it. So
I couldn't believe you actually on purpose waited.
Yeah, it just felt right. And I can't think of any other dish that I've done that with. I think I've learned the hard way that if you try and recreate a culinary experience somewhere outside of the joyous place you first experience it, you're just going to be filled with disappointment. So I wanted to go and set the bar. And it was great. But I have gone on a pretty substantial diet. But I just got back from Florence, where the diet was put on pause. So
yeah, of course. Well, you had to. Come on. I mean, it's Florence. I mean, we'll talk about this later in the show. But yeah, I mean, you had to, especially for the steak they do. They have their own. What's the name? I forgot.
Florentine steak. Yeah.
Steak alla Firenze or whatever.
Firenze. Yeah.
Very, very good.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, you had to. But yeah, no, I decided not to go on a diet now because it's a welcome.
No, I know.
Bad excuse, I guess, because I'm looking at myself in the camera and
No, stop.
Like a fat blob.
It's irritating how it's
one reason that so I've never been to Canada, as you guys know, it's becoming a running joke in this podcast. One of the reasons that I'll probably never be able to go to Canada is what I'm about to say. Have you seen probably the very famous movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Yes.
Where, the father pretends that everything comes from Greece, kimono, himona means, in Greek it means winter, there's snow, it's white, so kimono is white, so kimono comes from Greek. So in the same vein, poutine, and I'm really sorry I'm going to be banned from entering, especially Quebec. Poutine for me is like a gyros because basically, yeah, you put cheese, it's feta. Yes, you put meat and sauce, which is the gravy, and yeah. So for me, poutine is gyros, and it's exactly the same. So probably poutine comes from Greece.
There you go.
But sorry, guys, I'm going to be banned forever to enter. Yeah. And also, since because gyros actually comes from the region of my family, and my family comes from what is nowadays Turkey, so Anatolia, and Smyrna, so Izmir currently, beautiful city. You have to visit. And of course, the Turkish version of Euros is called kebab, yeah, right? So I'm now persona non grata to Canada.
3 countries. Yeah.
Mark, I'll never go. Je vais être attaqué par des hordes de Québécois. I'm going to be attacked by hordes of Quebec. How do you say Québécois? Québécois, I guess. I don't know if there's a word in English. You missed telling us the one thing that I really loved about Montreal, your episode of that. Actually, watch it, guys. It's really nice. I've never been, but obviously, is that the bus that picks you from the airport to the city is 747.
Yeah, I thought I wrote that in the VO, but yeah, it is the 747 bus. And
That's
I actually
so
had some
cool.
Yeah, it's clever. And apparently there were a few people in the comments who said actually it's pretty reliable, but they are building a more robust train service apparently. But yeah, it's that episode has revealed just how delightfully pleasant I don't know about the Quebecois generally, but certainly people who live in Montreal were very, very kind in their comments, and that doesn't always happen. So,
yeah, but Canadians are known to be kind.
Yeah, but it didn't happen in our Montreal and Vancouver episodes.
Oh, did not? Oh,
it did not at all.
Oh yeah, I remember there was one when people were. Yeah, I'm not going to open
Toronto. Yeah, Toronto. But Montreal.
I found that very unfair. But I mean, that's don't read the comments as we say, right?
Oh yeah, no, don't. It's not good for your mental health.
So yeah, Saudi Arabia. Yeah, that's where I mean, for those who follow me on Instagram, knew that that's where I've been last month. Now it's been 4 weeks. To the 22nd, I came back on the 19th or something. So yeah, Saudi Arabia. I'll start with why first, because obviously when you talk Saudi Arabia, it evokes a lot of different things to different people, including controversy. I'll admit it, obviously. First, I think because we keep having, of course, new listeners, and I don't want this podcast to be, this podcast to be always inside baseball. So sometimes it's good to kind of reset the room.
Good point.
Alex comes from a family of vintage aviators. You have a DNA. No, but what I mean is that you have a DNA of people who have lived in different parts of the world, and you've lived yourself in Asia when you were quite young. Actually, Hong Kong, obviously, we discussed that many times over. For me, Asia and the East, when you talk about the East compared for Europe, was something completely unknown for a very, very long time. My holidays when I was a kid was going to Greece by car, going to Finland by car. So to Greece, you would go from Switzerland, where I was born, drive all the way down to Italy, to Ancona, and then take the boat and arrive to Greece. And to go to Finland, you would go drive up to the top north of Germany and take a ferry as well and go to Finland. So and the big holidays, the big travels for me were in the U.S. My father was in love with the United States. He had friends there. We lived briefly in Florida or in Illinois. I mean Chicago. I'd done many trips there, which is why I know a little bit the US more than other countries as a kid, of course, including Disneyland and everything. But when it comes to the East, so Asia and the Middle East, I knew nothing. And for me, my upbringing about these countries were from movies, because I was heavily watching movies and books. Obviously, I don't know, for Asia, it could be the bridge over River Kwai, which is set in Burma, nowadays Myanmar, or Lawrence of Arabia, both the movie and the book that I read when I was quite young, actually. That kind of like triggered like something I wanted to go, but I didn't really know. But movies, when I started going by myself, I don't know, do you have, and I'm not talking about travel here in general, do you have movies that are the ones that, made you, or like that mattered to you a lot when you were a kid?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's ones that you can still go back to even now that are either goofy comedies or angsty when you're kind of in your teenage years that, you still reference and think about. And they hold up, too. They're not damaged by that kind of rose-tinted glasses.
Yes, so I'm slightly older than Alex, not that lot, but a little bit. For most of my friends, when I ask that question, the series of movies that comes up is Star Wars.
Police Academy. Oh.
Which one did you say?
One or two people are laughing right now because they get that reference. Police Academy, 1 through 7.
I love that movie, man. Those movies were absolutely amazing.
You're
oh
so
my
stupid.
God. I think we could do an entire episode on Police Academy.
Star Wars, of course. Yes, I was an absolute Star Wars kid.
But not for me. I mean, because probably I didn't see them in the theater. I saw, I think, only one of the two Ewoks movies that came out, maybe in the 80s. Exactly, right? So for me, the movies that I grew up with were Indiana Jones. For me, there was something about them. And, of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Temple of Doom. But the one that really, and of course, James Bond's were important. I think the Living Daylights, actually, which is one of my favorites because it's probably the first one, not the second one I saw in the cinema. By the way, it's actually in Afghanistan, again, the East, even though I think it was filmed in Morocco. So back to Indy. And then I remember, because it's a movie for me that matters a lot for travel, I went to see Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in the cinema, and in 1989, I think that is, right? And I mean, first there's this connection between Indy and his dad, played by Sean Connery, and my dad was very similar to Sean Connery. No, he's not a movie star, but kind of that cheeky relationship. That's the kind of relationship I had with my dad, so it was really nice. But the thing that, and everybody remembers that, is that famous scene where they go to the temple, which of course is filmed in Jordan, in Petra in Jordan, through that valley, and then they arrive and the temple opens. And I remember that scene. That's the scene that made me want to travel, because it's the first time in my life that I said, oh my God, I need to see this. I need to see this. Right. And it took me 10 years, more or less, because I went to Petra in 2000. I had a wedding of a friend in Jerusalem, and then I went across the border and went to Jordan, visited the Wadi Rum, etc. And I went to Petra, and my God, I was so happy. We went super early. We slept the night before. It was before Instagram and everything, so it was great because it was still not as probably touristed as it is today. There was no barriers. I've heard that since then they've installed barriers and I get it, because there was just too many people to avoid people, entering the temples and, obviously destroying them, or at least, damaging them. So it was very free. And we started, I think at the door, I mean, it was a basic kind of chain that opened at 7 a.m. and we walked through the whole day, and we climbed up the monastery, which is at the very end. Anyway, that was one of my best thing. But it all started with Indiana Jones, right? It all started with the Last Crusade. And that's what made me want to travel. And that's the first time, Petra, that's the first time I went to the Middle East. What I didn't know then, and I learned only in 2002, 2003, is that the same civilization, the Nabataeans, the same civilizations that I didn't ask. Have you been to Petra actually?
No, not yet.
Well, you have to, trust me.
Yeah, no,
it's really.
Definitely.
I mean, I understand for some people it's old stones, but I love to see what people built. This is why I love cities. Not that I don't like nature, but I like to see what people and civilizations and nations, etc., built. And of course, Petra is a great example of that. And so that civilization that has now disappeared, I learned in 2002 and 3 that they've actually had built another place, and that other place was in Saudi Arabia. That was recognized in 2008 by UNESCO. It's a World Heritage Site. But obviously Saudi Arabia it's been closed for tourism for very, very, very long time. And also by 2008, when it was back on the news, or at least for most people, it came up to the news about having these cities in Saudi Arabia. Not only it was closed, but I was living in Japan. So for me, going, I was like, whatever. And again, the country was closed. In September 2019, I think it was 23rd or 25th of September, and you understand how much that means to me, this wanting to see this, because I remember the date. They said we're going to allow tourism to Saudi Arabia, and the first thing I saw, I need to go. I need to see this. I need to absolutely see this. And we know what happened. I mean, I had plans. I even have messages that I've sent in around the end of 2019, including up to January 2020, when I said I'm planning. And I was literally planning to go in 2020. And then we know what happened. COVID happened. Everything was closed, shut down, etc. And so fast forward, finally the opportunity comes up. I can go to Saudi Arabia, and I decided to go. And so I'll tell you how, obviously, because we're an aviation podcast, but seeing these tombs, because they are tombs, again, just picture in your mind what you've seen in Indiana Jones. These are tombs built by this civilization, the Nabataeans, who were all around the region, not only, of course, in Jordan and Saudi Arabia. Seeing them in the middle of the desert is like something out of this world. I think it's even better than Petra. It's just like something that I'm so happy. I'll go how and when and how I went there in a minute, but it's one of the. So I'm so happy to have seen Indiana Jones because it really triggered that want of discovery and adventure, and it led me to go to Saudi Arabia. So there you go. This is why I went. Honestly, it's. I know. I remember you seeing something in. You remember your attaché episode about Beirut that we did together. I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
You said, and that marked me. You said, I'm going to paraphrase because I haven't seen it lately, but you said, you're probably never going to come to Beirut. And probably, guys, probably never going to come to Saudi Arabia. I know that it's going to grow in tourism, but I understand that for a lot of people, for a lot of reasons, you're not maybe not going to go. It's not going to be in your plans. And I'm not going to try to tell you to go, and I'm not going to try you to. But I just want to explain how it went and how interesting it is, because the other thing that I love about Indiana Jones, and I know I'm doing these metaphors now forever, these analogies, and that is that Harrison Ford, the way he plays, and that actually applies to Han Solo as well, he deals with ambiguity, and I think. To be a good traveler, and I know that you have to deal with ambiguity. Mm-hmm. Like it's not everything is black and white. And in particular for travel, for me at least, because I'm very curious about people, is to realize that whichever country you go, whichever place you go, there's vast differences in how people, like the everyday, the Alex of the Pole in Saudi Arabia, the Alex of the Pole in Tokyo, the Alex of the Pole in Buenos Aires are nothing or very little to do with the country they live in. Of course, it's part of their culture, but you can dislike or even more hate some regimes and still consider that the people who live there have nothing to do with it. And for me, that's very, very important.
Interesting you say that. I was just talking to my eldest son about that this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that exact concept of you can disagree, to put it mildly, with a regime or leadership, but it's not representative of a people, and it's important to make that distinction, because that's where hate comes from.
Is that because of the World Cup that you were discussing this, or?
No, he's fascinated in kind of geopolitics, as all kind of tween boys are, especially when there's kind of active military conflict. So, and they're studying World War I in history, so it's something that he's kind of thinking about, and how nations relate to each other, and why leaders are bad but people aren't, that type of thing. But you can see how quickly and easily anyone can go from a regime making a choice or a leadership making a decision or implementing whatever to therefore everybody from there is bad. In the mind,
that's a difficulty, because we make shorthands when we discuss. We say, X country has done that, right? Like we say, Y country has done this, and we know that it's more complicated than that. And by the way, it happens in all directions, because because I've seen like big remarks about the US being made in a lot of different places around the world. And you want to say, but I mean, you can dislike the regime or dislike the current president or administration. You can still love Americans like I do. There's no direct relationship. Doesn't mean that some people agree with such X regimes and Y, but it's shades of gray. And actually, there's I'm going to quote Indiana Jones right here. An X never marks the spot, right? So it's a complicated world. The reason I was asking you about Qatar, because obviously there's a lot of debate since the World Cup started, and I get it as well. But having been to Doha again, I mean, the people there were very. I mean, it's complicated, and I do understand. I want to put it out there because talking about Saudi Arabia evokes to a lot of people different things, and I totally understand. And it was actually fascinating when I was traveling there, and I was putting a few stories out on Instagram, how many people reached out to me and how the questions that were it was a lot of curiosity, which is probably also due to the people, like the kind of friends I have, and the kind of people that follow me. They are curious and not like dismissive. But it was very interesting, the questions they had and the type of inquisitive curiosity that they had. And so I'm going to try to answer a few of those during the podcast, but it's not the point. Of course, we're an aviation podcast, but it's, I think, by the way, your sons will turn up like me. Be careful, because I used to talk about politics when I was 8 years old. Just be careful.
Yeah.
You don't want them to be like...
No, and I want them to be relentlessly curious, I think is probably what I...
Yeah. Because before and then I'll start. Promise you guys, I'll start going there. I've got shit from going to countries, but I've got shit to go into. So I remember I went to Skopje, so it's North Macedonia, and I have friends in Greece that told me, "What are you doing there? You're a traitor." I had when I went to Tirana, and I love Skopje. When I went to Tirana in Albania, I had also lots of jokes or very xenophobic from people I knew in Switzerland, because we have a big Albanian. I mean, we know that because of the football players, Xhaka and I was like, I hate this. I mean, maybe also because I'm an immigrant myself. My parents were immigrants, and sons and daughters themselves from refugees. But I'm like, what the? And the shit. Pardon my French here, but the shit I've gotten as well from going simply to Pakistan. I mean, again, some. Really, and that's a minority, but it happens every single time, right? And I find it very, and I keep telling these people they're not close friends, obviously, but I keep telling them, just go, or shut up, or shut the fuck up, but just go. Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating to see the how people live, and how much they resemble us in a way.
Oh, for sure.
But you don't see that until you go. So anyway, that's one of the reasons I keep traveling, and you keep traveling. I want to witness. I want to see this. In some places I will like, some places I will like less, and that's fine. But you're not going to dismiss them before going. But anyway, again, I understand the Saudi, and address some of these why some people have hesitations. So booking, I decided why there was a few options. Obviously, Qatar Airways, Emirates, Saudi. BA was not. I couldn't find easy flights to go.
Oh my God, no
BA.
way.
But also, so there's two things. So I was flying to Jeddah, which is not the capital, right? Jeddah is the most cosmopolitan city because it's, like in every country in the world, the city that is on the port is usually the most cosmopolitan. This is why Osaka is more cosmopolitan, more open in a way than Tokyo. And that's because they were the cities that were open to the trade and open to the foreigners. Karachi in Pakistan, the same, right? So Jeddah is a port city, so it's very open to trade. But it's not considered the season for tourism, even for trade, because it's so hot during the summer. Then it's like, you've been as well to, Dubai, for instance. Most of the stuff, the business trade stuff happens between November to March, because that's where the temperatures are lower. So going in October was a bit early. So maybe that's why BA was not offering flights like a lot. I don't know. So I ended up going with Emirates. All the flights were super freaking expensive, crazy. The thing is, they were not, because I was looking at various options. The flights from, for instance, Dubai to Jeddah or from Doha to Jeddah were pretty empty. There were the legs from London that were completely full. And that's why the price, it's crazy. So I had to go to Gatwick, actually, because the flights from Heathrow were so full that I thought I'd had better chances to get upgraded maybe if I get to Gatwick, but actually that turned out not to be the case because they were also completely full. Wow. So that was, but anyway, so the visa, I had to do a visa. You have to do a tourist visa to go to Saudi Arabia. It's very, very easy. You go on a website, it takes you like 4 minutes to do the visa compared to a few other countries. It's very, very easy. The rules were, I wasn't clear because I believe most of the websites, including the official UK website, were not up to date because they were still telling you there were some restrictions. There were none. There was nothing required to enter to no vaccination, nothing. However, because I could read different things in different places, I still decided to go on their official vaccination registration thing. And, you and me, we have 3 shots because as most of the people in the UK, I couldn't register if I put 1 and then the third had to be 2022. And I was like, yeah, but I got my 3rd one in 2021. They wouldn't allow me to put the date of the 3rd in 2021. So I don't know why. But anyway, it doesn't matter because since I've gone now, nobody cared. The airline didn't care. Nobody asked me at Emirates check-in for any certification. Nobody cared on the entry in Saudi Arabia. Nobody cared in any place in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if it's a case of just domino because they all assumed that somebody asked you before and nobody did, but nobody ever cared. And I had a few other people because I've asked around people that I know that do business there. And I said, did they ever ask you? I said, no. So lately. So basically, you don't have to do anything. So just a visa. However, the visa is more expensive. So usually I think it's maybe $20 or something. The visa is like $120, $130, I think. Because, and you'll understand why, is because they've actually included medical travel, basically insurance within the visa. Because that's part of their rule. They say you need to have COVID coverage, which I have through my 2 travel insurance I use all the time. But I think because they don't want to deal with having to check every single one, they say, you know what? That's part of the package. If you pay a visa, you have the travel insurance is included and it covers you. At least, it's a peace of mind because you know that you have exactly what is required to enter the country.
Yes.
So,
that's a good point.
Yeah. And it was, I think I did the visa, it was like 6 p.m. So for there it was like 8 or something. So it was like evening. I paid. I got the first email saying, your visa is being processed. And 2.5 minutes later, it was done.
Wow.
So it's very, very, very easy. Super fast. I don't know if it's manual, if there's like AI, if it's an AI Alex on the other side.
No, I'm sure there's a little bit of both, yeah.
Yeah, but that was really, really good. So airport, I went to Gatwick. I had a chauffeur drive, which is always nice, because they cut it in a lot of places, but still possible here in the UK. So you know what? You've been lately to Gatwick?
Yeah.
Why did you say that?
Well, I remember it was the whole whaling disaster, and I dunked pretty hard on Gatwick because it was still coming out of stasis, and that poor place is just bursting at the seams. So
so maybe I was lucky because it was okay. I mean, it was not. It was just a week before, I think, half term you call it, but it was the school holidays. It was okay, and you know what? I used to, like you, but I used to go so many times to Gatwick, and now that it's like once in a while, I think it's nicer to treat it it's nicer to do this as a treat than a habit. Yeah. I went there and it was super efficient. It was fast. I was not stressed. It was like, I kind of know this airport, but it just worked. It was really nice. That's good. Kudos. So it worked. I love.
Sounds like they've got their mojo back.
Maybe, yeah. Everything was automated. It was super fine. From check-in to dock check, everything was great, right? Now, I entered the Emirates lounge, which is not the one in Heathrow is better. I don't know if
I don't think I've ever been in the Emirates lounge in Gatwick.
It's one of those that are like they're close to all the. There's a cluster of lounges like the number 1 and Virgin and not Virgins. Yeah, Virgin I think as well. They all like there's no windows. They all like bunkers one on top of each other. It's good because it's Emirates and Emirates have this kind of consistency. I'll sum it up. And because you'll see that sentence come quite a few times, sadly. I sum it up by that lady that was, so I was at the bar, the buffet. And there's a lady in front of me, and she keeps the champagne bottle in her hand and looks at it and reads it. And I'm looking at her like, what is she doing? And she looks at me and says, I just wanted to look at the label to see how much they lowered their standards. And it's a bit, you feel that there's a bit of cost cutting right there. I mean, not that it matters. For me, lounges are just like a nice thing to have, but I don't expect, I don't need to have like the plushes or whatever. Yeah, you could feel that some of the stuff is a bit lower, but I mean, still great experience overall. I entered a flight 380 to Dubai. Nice speech at the door because I'm still gold. I don't know if I can handle. This is one of the reasons I flew Emirates. I'm like, maybe I can keep gold for next year.
Yeah.
So super nice. That works really well. The thing that again here I entered the cabin and I'm like, I've seen that in 2010. This 380, the product was the same that I flew back. As you know, I've been flying Emirates for a long time, since 2010. Man, the cabin felt a little bit old. It's horrible to say because maybe the veneer came off after COVID. But yeah, it's nice, and maybe I've seen it too many times as well. So I'm not being very fair compared to someone who's discovering Emirates for the first time. But I could see the wear and tear. Like something I would say about BA sometimes, I could see that on Emirates as well, which is something I don't see on Qatar and I don't see on a few other airlines. It's okay. The sign that you knew that it was an old product is that when you put your phone on charging on the USB port, it's one of these old USB port and your phone is kind of charging at a pace of like, I think in 6.5 hours, my phone increased by 10% or something.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Anyway, it's not a big deal, but I'm saying, these little things add up because you'll see. They came to me first, so I was in the main cabin, but at the back. No, sorry, the small cabin, the one is close to the bar. The very back. Yeah. I always enjoy that because it's a bit quieter, and it's close to the bar. So if you want to go, and so they came because I tried to make sense since I was traveling also with them in February, and I'll tell you later when I came back. I tried to make sense. I don't know how they do the dinner service. I mean, obviously there's a lot of people, but it seems that they have either a randomized, because at that point I thought, oh, they're coming to me first because I'm gold. So maybe they're prioritizing, their best customers before, but that didn't happen to me on the way back. So I think they are a random system because it seems that they're taking orders not like in, rows orders. Like maybe they have like something on there. They all have a phone. So maybe their phone kind of randomizes the seats they need to take the order from.
I'd be very interested to know what it actually is.
Yeah,
random
so maybe someone
hard to manage.
Yeah, and the reason I'm saying that, because usually I wouldn't care, is that, okay, so I got the order, clearly one of the first ones in the entire cabin. I got my food, not the first, in the first batches, if you want, so I was happy. But by the time, and I'll talk about the food later, but by the time I was finished finished my food, it was, they ask you, that's nice, they ask you, and that's post-COVID now, do you want everything together or not? So it's not single tray anymore, so you can have, your first and your seconds separate. But by the time I was finished, I hadn't been served drinks yet.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's also not that great. Again, I don't really care. But it's something I felt back in 2019. Remember, I was telling you that they probably had removed 2 staff on the upper deck of the 380. And I don't know, I didn't count them. I don't know if it's clearly still the case, or even maybe less. It seems they're overwhelmed. The cabin was full and the service was not completely following. Again, it's okay, but when you pay that kind of price, because trust me, the price was freaking expensive.
Okay?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Maybe like literally 30 minutes to get a drink, and by the time I'd finished the food, and I'm not a fast eater, but I was watching a movie and whatever. And yeah. So I don't know. It just felt, and they had asked me for what do I want to drink when they took my order. Just I don't know. It just, there's these gaps were visible all throughout, and it's not against the crew. The crew was actually very nice. It's just that maybe they're not enough people.
That's what it sounds like.
But that's where something that never happened to me. The food. The food was I think that, I don't know why, it was not, maybe cost cutting. It was not, maybe I have like an idealized memory of what it used to be. I don't know, but it felt kind of below. But then something happened that never happened to me in like what I've flown Emirates for 14 years or something, and like extensively, like literally, it's the airline that I've flown the most. 4 hours in, there's no more champagne.
What?
Yeah. I mean, I know that. Sorry, it's going to be a cliche, but British people can be heavy drinkers, but it never literally. And I always flown from London, at least since 2012. I live here. No more champagne. They told me, no, we're sorry, we ran out of champagne. And I had this kind of look in my face. It must have, what? I had like 2 cups, by the way, guys, right? And it's not that I drank an entire bottle by myself. To reassure you guys. But, I mean, what? That's weird.
They're the largest buyer of Dom Perignon in the world.
Yes.
And
they have like these... They have like these special cellar.
Yeah, in France, it's $650 million cellar in France.
I don't know, man. You see what I'm telling you. I know it sounds like but it's like it's death by 1,000 cuts. And I'm not here saying I'm not going to travel Emirates ever again, guys. It's not what I'm saying, but it's adds up because I'll keep going, and you'll see it adds up. That there are little things that like, really. And again, the prices from London. And I was using a mix of miles, but imagine someone paying the price from London to Dubai in October in business class, because I checked, was around £4,000. So you pay £4,000. Let's say you pay, not your company, and they tell you there's no more champagne after 4 hours. Are you happy?
It's not a good look,
right? And one of the things that you said as well when you flew Emirates is that Emirates is known for its consistency. But if it's consistently down, that's a problem.
Yeah. And I know that they're going through a massive cabin refresh with the business class stuff, but
well, thank God.
It doesn't
trust me, yeah.
Yeah, that's disappointing to hear that.
Yeah.
That was the experience.
At the end of the flight, because they acknowledge, again, I'm cold. So, I mean, they have that on their phones. And she came, thinking she was she, and she came and said, how you flight so far? And I didn't have the heart to tell her my disappointment. I didn't, and it didn't really matter because it was small things. And I left it at that and said, oh, that's fine. That's it. But yeah. Anyway, so I arrived at Dubai. I have like around 6 hours in front of me. Dubai is super busy. One of the things like very late evening arrivals. The layout sometimes is still weird, but I mean, it's fine. So I'm at B gates and I'm supposed to leave from B gates. So I prefer the concourse A, but I'm saying concourse B. And I go to the lounge. It's not as good as the ones in Concourse A, but it's nice. There's no real quiet place. I think my cat is howling behind the door. Sorry, guys. Mally. That's the name of my cat, Mally. She will give it up. No worries. There's no real place the reason I lost my train of thought because of my cat. The reason I prefer the A concourse is because there's more places to sleep, and I wanted to sleep because that was kind of part of the plan. I said, I'm going to sleep like 4 or 5 hours, and then I'm going to sleep in the small flight to Jeddah, and then I'm going to, because the next day I needed to drive. And the lounge B don't really have places to sleep, so I was kind of on a couch and trying to sleep. It's fine. I didn't want to take a hotel just for that. It's fine. This is not a criticism of I'm just saying that if you were to want to sleep, lounges B are maybe not your best bet.
It's important, as you say, because there are so many of those Emirates flights that arrive at horrendous o'clock, and you just want to get a couple of hours in.
Yeah, exactly. And I had like these kind of noise cancelling headphones, and I put like some white noise because there's still buzzing, because in the middle of the night, even if you're in our lounge, there's still like people around, whatever. And I did a little chalet. That was nice. I entered, so there was they have installed new biometric gates, boarding gates now. It's the first time I've seen them. They were not there last time when it was in February. Like it's like neon and they're colored. And so you have like a red when it's closed, and green means open.
Yeah.
Blue means you're being checked. So please wait, I guess. It's quite cool. You've seen them?
Yes. When we were there in whenever it was March, they were starting to roll those out.
Sorry, I was having a sip of coffee. Yeah, exactly. So I didn't know because in February I didn't see any. So yeah, okay. So they're pretty cool. They they have this. So they take a picture of your face, right? So they have this kind of long LCD screen which has a camera behind the screen, probably hidden behind the screen. And they've put like this, it's a bit clunky, but it's okay. There's like this Emirates flight attendant that comes and say, hello, smile for the camera or something. Takes a picture of you. And then, I don't know how it works, but because the thing is, it took a picture of me, but what against can it check? Because it's not as if I had my picture. If I had entered Dubai airport with my passport, they could have checked my picture, but I don't know why they took a picture of me, because maybe they probably have me in my database. I've been there so many times. They had to probably check my biometric against something.
That'd be interesting to know.
Anyway, so Dubai to Jeddah. Upgrade! So, because of the other thing, I arrive at dock check. Oh, well, you're upgraded. So, very, very happy. I'm going in first class for the little leg, 3 hours, which is great because I wanted to sleep. Dry. This is completely dry. I'll address that question at the end because I had so many questions about that. People are very interested in alcohol, guys. I don't know what it tells about us, but you were very interested about, because I mentioned about Pakistan. So, I'll have an entire section dedicated on alcohol in a bit. But I wanted to sleep, so I know I say that as if I'm blasé, but you know, it's amazing to be first class. So obviously, you have this big door, and by the way, I knew it was the entire flight like this, but I slept a little bit. But basically, you see desert. So I was like, you know what? It's not as if I'm missing anything.
Was it a 380?
Yeah, 380. Yeah. Which again, it was, and everything felt pretty empty. They probably gave me the upgrade because they're nice to me. I don't know, because there was enough room. I don't know. Anyway, point is, it was really a nice small flight. The look on the face of the flight attendant was interesting because I was kind of out of place because I looked like a tourist, and she said that very politely, but in a way like, what the F are you going to do in Saudi Arabia? And then I showed her the pictures of what I wanted to see, which I explained earlier. And she's like, that is in Saudi Arabia? I'm like, yeah. Oh my God, I've been doing that route so many times. I had no idea. I'm like, yeah, so maybe one day you could actually check it out, right? So it's interesting. They need to do a lot of publicity about what they have to offer, because she's a flight attendant. She goes to Saudi all the time and she had no idea. So the very interesting bit. So Jeddah Airport is the airport that is closest to Mecca, of course. So it was not, of course, during the Haji Umrah. So I was not during the pilgrimage when I was going. But still, people go regularly to Mecca to do a pilgrimage outside of those specific dates as well. So when I entered the flight, they were like business people. There was two that were clearly Saudi because they had the outfit, the attire that they have. And other people were I don't know where they were from, but they were like the business suits and whatever. And we're about to land, so they opened all the doors of the first class, and suddenly I look and I stand up just to go to the bathroom, whatever. And literally every single one of them was wearing the pilgrimage outfit.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, changed. That was very interesting. That was really, really interesting. I was like, I was the only one remaining in a t-shirt and denims. What? It's very, very interesting. It's called, I think, Ihram or something like that. I'm sorry, guys, if I'm mispronouncing. It's the clothing. It's basically a toweling material. It's there to indicate that there's universal appearance. There's no poor and rich. Everybody has the same. And they have they all have their slippers, so sandals. It's just like a towel, basically a kind of a toweling material draped over the torso for men, and like another towel basically secured by a belt, and that's it. It's fascinating. It was fascinating. And already in your head, I'm like, because that was the thing for me. I was like, I don't know, Alex, for instance, what would you expect going there? Do you know how to dress? It's very hard to know. and there's literally no literature.
I was going to say that's one of those places where you can't just jump online and read about it.
No, because since tourism hasn't been a thing, there's I don't know, like your TripAdvisor has almost nothing. And I was like, so I was anxious I'm not anxious as a personality, but I wanted to be respectful. I was like, what am I supposed to do, right? So I've been to many other countries in the region, and mentioned Pakistan as well. So I knew like, okay, don't wear shorts. I mean, there's stuff like, but I didn't want to be like, I mean, I couldn't have been more wrong, by the way. I couldn't have worn anything I wanted. I'll come to that. But it was fascinating to go out. So I'm like, my mind is primed as I'm going off this aircraft, because I'm basically surrounded by guys in first class that are all wearing this traditional, Himran dressing to go for the pilgrimage. And I'm here with my black t-shirt and denims. And like, what am I supposed to do now? What am I supposed to do? Anyway, I go. You land, it's a massive airport. There's 3 runways. I think I landed the central one. And there's this brand new terminal that they just opened. It's in bronze, the color bronze.
Oh, wow.
It's copper, It
Beautiful.
looks epic. And also probably, and that's why maybe these architects were chosen, maybe also in place with the kind of the theme of the desert, I guess. I don't know. The tower, man. The tower is...
Oh, yeah, you sent me a picture of that.
It's 140 meters high, I think, or something. I think it's the tallest tower, ATC tower that exists in the world, or something. Maybe I'm wrong, because they all claim, they have the highest or something.
That's pretty amazing. I don't know. I
check.
can't think of anything that's that high.
But it's incredible, because it's also like in this kind of bronze copper type of coloring and tiles. I'm like, wow, this is really incredible. And... the Emirates gates is next to that tower, so the very middle of that new terminal. And again, I didn't know what to expect. At least I knew it was a new terminal. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you read anything, or if you've been to Saudi, to Jeddah, and a few friends of mine have been, the previous terminals, so the previous airport, if you want, were considered the worst in the world. Like... If you Google the images, I've never been, but if you Google the images, you can understand. It looks like a really bad. I was about to say a very curse word. I'm not going to do it because we have kids listening. Really, really dire. So I was very, very, very happy that there was a new airport. But still, I was kind of like, they're not used to tourism. How am I going to handle this? It was so easy, man. You go out, you walk, there's a tram, because the terminal is 1 kilometer long, wow. Right? So from the gates to the exit, there's 1 kilometer. So you have the tram that, how the tram on T5 goes so slowly? Mm-hmm. This one is a Formula One compared to this. I don't know. It went so fast. I was like, my God, are they crazy? I was handling to the thing. Like,
wow.
It seemed like in 30 seconds about the other side of the airport. You go out, you follow the signs, very easy. You arrive at the immigration, and that was kind of like, oh, there's immigration. Super. I mean, I'm one of the first, of course, because I was in first. I was, of course, first in line. And there's this gentleman, foreigner, clearly. I mean, I look like a foreigner, so clearly. This way, I go. There's a person there, like very nice. I put my fingerprints, 4422, the thumbs and the 4. And that was it. So, and they took a picture. Like they have these cameras in all the airports.
Yeah.
They have like a mirrorless. So guys in Saudi Arabia immigration, if you could send me that picture for my next profile pic, because you have a great, great camera. They took my picture with this fantastic like Sony camera. I was like, wow, you're taking like portrait shots.
I wonder if they need like higher quality now for whatever they're doing from a biometric perspective.
Probably, by the way, yeah.
But
and I'll come to that when I exit, because probably they do check against when I exit.
Oh,
randomized check. But anyway, and then I had a check-in luggage, so I waited like huge, area with like 25 million belts, and the luggage came very quickly, and I was out, and it was fantastic.
So was it busy? Was the airport busy?
No,
like, justify
didn't feel busy.
Really?
I saw that because I went on, Plane Finder, so I saw there were many other flights. But so the older terminals are still open for domestic, and some airlines haven't transitioned to the new terminal. So probably the fact since it's brand new and not everybody has transitioned, kind of makes, and since it was not in season as well, makes it for a good experience. So it was really, really nice. And the airport anyway, it's bright and airy and all white and all clear and lots of lights coming in, obviously, because, it's very hot and there's not a single cloud in that region. No, it was really, really, now, when you exit, so when you left on your own behalf, so once you take your luggage, you go through, there's a custom official, he just looks at you and you're through. And you exit, and I was renting a car. So you arrive at the arrivals hall, if you want, and then that's where it breaks a little bit, because you can feel, and that's also something I've seen all over the country, they're not used to tourism.
Oh.
So meaning once now that I know, once you know the tricks, it's very easy. But if you are newly arrived for the first time at that airport, I couldn't find nothing. I was looking for a bank because I had cash. I had dollars with me. I didn't want to go to the ATM because I would be paying crazy fees to the ATMs. There were no signs directing you to a bank or to a currency exchange. And on the map, I had to go to Google Maps to find it. And by the way, since I was landing on a Saturday, it was closed because it's the weekend for them, it's Friday and Saturday. So I was like, okay, so I'm not going to change my dollars here. No big deal. I'm just saying it was not clear where to go. I mean, the first thing you see when you exit, you have a Starbucks and another kind of on the other side. And the feature of the airport that you see is right in the middle of that arrival hall. There's a 15 meters high aquarium.
Oh, wow.
I've read about, I arrive and I see that thing. I'm like, wow, it's big. And then I realize how big it is because I see two divers in it cleaning it. I'm like, oh my God, there's divers in and sharks. And I'm like, what? The thing is I needed to go Google it. 15 meters high. There's 1 million liters of water in there.
Wow.
It's massive. So it's beautiful, but it's not clear where to go. You have parkings all around. So if you want to find a parking, it's great. But if you want to find a rent-a-car or a taxi, it's not absolutely clear. But it's fine. I'm just saying that they would need to. The signage was not the most perfect, but it's okay. What you see, and that's fantastic. They have developed a high-speed rail that goes from Jeddah up to North Medina, probably,
oh, wow.
which is in the north. My God, there's a bit. If you want to take the train, because it wasn't one of my options, I didn't because it didn't lead me where I wanted. But you exit, you see that aquarium, you keep going forward for 1 minute, and then you have a huge train station, high-speed rail train station. That's the easiest transfer you could ever make if you wanted to take the train. So it's really fantastic. So I ended up finding a car, rented an SUV because I didn't, I was like, do I feel comfortable having a too small car?
Yeah, you never know what the roads are going to be like when you leave the cities.
It's and so it's kind of funny experience. People are so nice, and that's the thing I want to say. People are so, again, I in my mind I was wondering, what should I do? How should I behave? Not that I would change anything, but you kind of unsure. And actually, I felt like in every country in the region, I could have been in Jordan, I could have been in Lebanon, I could have been in UAE, I could have been in Bahrain. There's no difference. People are just jovial and nice. People, there were no, compared to, for instance, Lebanon, there was no 20,000 people say, taxi, taxi, taxi. There was one or two guys waiting at the exit and said, you need a taxi, sir? And I said, no, that was it, right? So very kind and nice experience. I go rent my car. The guys were super cool, our age, younger. They were joking with me. It was the easiest thing to rent a car. I had made a booking. The car I wanted was not available. It took me 2 minutes. I had another one. It was really, honestly, super easy. And then, I started driving. And the reason I'm going to mention driving is because it allowed me to see the scale of that airport. So I was exiting. I had my Google Maps on top of the sat nav, whatever. And holy cow. And then it hits me. Obviously, that airport is also the one that is ready for the pilgrimage. So it has to be able to handle millions and millions of people coming for the pilgrimage. And that number is only increasing. I think right now it sits at 3 million or something. I'm not sure. Incredible. But and you have parking spaces forever. And they're completely empty because I'm not during the pilgrimage season, right? So, but it seemed that I was driving against a parking lot for 5 hours before, I'm kidding, obviously, going out of that airport. And when you go on Google Maps, you can see that they have like special zones for buses. The train is also going. You have all these things that are made just for the pilgrimage because because it's really next door, Mecca. Everything is made for this. They're building, so they have already like a special terminal just for pilgrimage, right? Dedicated to, so it's closed, I guess, the entire year until that season, if you want. And but they're building another one. Because it's not big enough. They're building a mosque inside of the airport because the airport I was in is phase 1, and I think currently is about 20 million people capacity. It will go to 120 million by the time it's ready. What? Yes.
Wow.
It's crazy, man. It's like, I think it's phase 4. It goes 3 phases. Phase 3 is going to be 120 million. It's 30 million currently, and I think it will go to 120. And they will build a mosque for 3,000 people in the airport. For 3,000. It's a massive thing. It's going to be the biggest mosque in an airport. But everything looks really superb. And when you think that they had like an airport that was really rated as one of the worst in the world, they literally went the other way. They're creating something that is completely amazing. I mean, it's really beautiful. In terms of design, it's very satisfying. So yeah, it's an impressive, really impressive airport, and it's brand new. Obviously, that terminal. Thank God I've not been to the old ones. Anyway, so I drive. So that was a very easy entering. Like no anxiety at all, guys. If you ever go, it's very easy. Actually, I thought it would be difficult, but it's actually super easy. The thing that driving in Saudi Arabia, the street signs that say, this is 110, learn the numbering in Arabic numbers because they are made in Arabic numbers and doesn't say 110 our way, it says 110 the Arabic numbering way. So the 3 and the 4s, if you don't know them, I mean, thank God I knew them because what is that? Is that, what's the speed here?
So it's only in Arabic?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that's kind of thing.
I mean, there are places closer to Jeddah that are in both, but I was going away from Jeddah because Jeddah for me was, I was going to go at the very tail end of my trip. So that's because the tombs are not in Jeddah, they're like in the north. So I drove away, and the further I was driving away, the less it was in English.
Wow.
Which is fine. Again, it's very easy. Yeah, but that's why I'm saying all that also tells you they never had tourism, and you could feel there was no tourism. The good thing, if there's one good thing about COVID, is that the few things I could find about Saudi Arabia that dated pre-pandemic all told me that it's a very cash-based economy. But because of COVID, they pushed like contactless, and I could buy everything anywhere contactless. I never had need for any cash. Whereas apparently that was not the case 5 years ago. Now I was in the middle of nowhere taking petrol for my car. I could pay with a tap of my
that's
iPhone.
Been one of the silver linings of COVID.
Yeah, honestly, that was super easy. Anyway, so I went up. I stopped at a city called Keck. So it's King Abdullah Economic Cities. It's one of these new cities that are building that could be Dubai in 20 years. Who knows? Because they're clearly building it in a way to attract, economic investment, trade, and hotels. And there's only a few hotels already there. So it's really made for that. The thing the reason I'm mentioning, because we're talking about transport, the thing that was really striking is the reason I think it could become big is when you stop there, you see the train station, that high-speed rail train station. That's, I think, the next stop. Holy cow, it's bigger than Paddington, man. I was like, there's this one train, but they already made it there's probably 14 platforms or something. I didn't go inside, but you could see the size of that thing. I was like, why is it so big? So they already probably planned ahead of having a massive network of high-speed rail.
It makes sense for a country of that scale to have that type of infrastructure. They really must be expecting this is for the next generation. This is...
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks great, by the way. I mean, they have money. Let's be clear. The one thing that was amazing there is that I'm on the Red Sea, and I've seen a lot of my share of sunsets in my life, but seeing a sunset at the Red Sea is something else. It's one of the best sunsets I've ever seen in my life.
Wow,
it's just incredible, man. It's just incredible. Anyway. And then I drove, and that's a long drive. I drove so AlUla is the region where these tombs I mentioned at the top of the show are. From the airport to there, so let's pretend I hadn't made a stop, is 8 hours drive, right?
Wow.
Long
And that was,
drive.
there's no other airport that.
So I looked at it. So I could have taken the train, that high-speed train to go to Medina, and then from Medina I could have driven. But I said from Medina, I still have 3.5 hours. I'm like, what's the benefit of having to first take the train?
Yeah.
Just, I mean, for
And what a
curiosity.
great way to see the country as well.
Yes, exactly. That's
I'm
my
a big fan of that.
That's why I did it. But so they built an airport in AlUla, and of course, as my layovers cap, I was like, yeah, of course, I need to go to take an airplane to go to that airport. It's brand new. The pictures looks amazing. It looks really, really. It's a small airport because it's still small. It's not tiny, but it's not the size of Jeddah. That's what I meant. But it looks really, really, really beautiful design-wise. There's two things that preclude me. There was very few information whether or not I could actually rent a car arriving there. It turns out I could, but now that I've been, I know that I could. But honestly, it was impossible. I'm like, you need a car when you are in AlUla. Things are like from my hotel, let's say, to the sites, it's a 30 minutes drive, right? So there's Uber, there's Kareem, there's stuff, but it's not as if it's as, we're talking a country that's not used to tourism yet. So I wanted not to be reliant on anybody else. So I wasn't sure I could rent a car arriving at that airport, AlUla airport. The thing is, there were no flights from Jeddah.
At all, or just...
I had to go from Jeddah to Riyadh, AlUla. That took me 10 hours. I was like, I'm not going to do that.
No.
Right? I mean, I love flying, and I would have been interesting to fly NAS or Saudi domestic.
I
but I'm
wonder
like,
and the only reason why I thought about this is I remember staying in a hotel right next to it. If there were flights to and from Sharjah.
so there were actually flights even for Dubai.
Right.
Because they're priming AlUla to be the showcase for tourism for the country.
Oh, I see.
And I could see that when I was there. They're building the presence of the hotels, including the ones I've been in, show you that they're building for it. Go ahead.
I have an emergency.
Okay, you want to stop and go?
Can you give me 2 minutes?
Oh, as many as you want.
Okay, 1 second.
Well, he seems to be going on a very important call. So let me check the football. Yeah, I know you didn't sign up to listen to football, guys. I know it's an aviation podcast. Travel, at least. More travel than aviation. Wow. The stadium is full of green. It's a green wave, the color of Saudi Arabia. You know what? They might actually clinch this. It's home in a way because it's close. I mean, at the very least, there shouldn't be any argument that the Middle East should have had, and it's good that they have a World Cup. And I know the rest. I understand the reluctance of some of you, or even more stringent response. I do, especially with migrant workers, how they've been treated for the stadiums and other settings as well, for the LGBTQ communities and women's rights. I know, right? It's an aviation podcast. We try not to do politics, but I mean, you cannot always separate the two. But as you understand, I liked it a lot, Saudi. What can I tell you? Driving in Saudi Arabia showed me another Saudi Arabia, not the image I had, like a more impoverished Saudi Arabia. These people must be watching the game. You never know; they could win, and for them, I'd be happy for the people I met. There was this tour guide. She was amazing. She explained me the tribes, and these are the tribes, multiple tribes that lived, and they were united. And these are the ones I've passed through when I was driving. So they must be watching the game. I was very happy if they at least put a goal. Let's see. You never know. I love the people, guys. What can I tell you? I love the people. And I understand all the rest. I do. What can I tell you? I'm a romantic and an optimist. Yeah. And also, if you've never seen a game commented by an Arabic channel, do. Because my God, the energy. It's like Latin America. Like the energy is quite amazing. Look, it seems Alex is finishing his call. For once, I did an edit in a show, man. So Alex has to go in half an hour. So it's going to only be about Jeddah, and we'll talk about Florence next time. Ha ha ha! You'll have to wait, guys. So you were asking me, yeah, you can fly from Dubai. So there you have like international flights going to that small airport. I think the main thing is simply that they consider that the season starts in November. And I was in October. There probably no flights then. And also there were some flights, but because I had like a dedicated set of dates that I needed to be in because of obligations on both ends of my trip, the days I wanted to fly, there were no flights or had to go through Riyadh. And I was like, and like you said, and I think it was the most important, I wanted to see the country. I said, you know what? Guys, that I don't like cars, but I'm going to drive. And man, that was fantastic because I've seen the other side of Saudi. So first of all, the cliche side, you drive for 3 hours in this desert. Like the highway is literally completely straight. And you know how this haze that you have in a desert when you cannot see that's only what you see. And there's trucks, and a few cars, and I'm one of the cars, and I'm going 140 kilometers per hour because that's the limit. And I'm like, this is never ending. And there's not a single stop, man. There's not a petrol station for 3 hours.
Really?
Nothing.
Wow.
So, like, it's not made for tourism. It's not made. It's literally trucks. And you arrive, and suddenly there's this massive refinery / electricity generation thing. And I mean, it's massive. It's great because it's part of kind of the cliche you have about, oil and whatever. And then I arrive and I needed to turn at some point to go to the mountains. So there's a city called Yambu. And then I turned, that's my pit stop because there's a petrol station. I'm like, hallelujah, I can put petrol. By the way, super cheap. Yeah. Obviously, you'd expect that. And then 5 hours in ravines, sandstones, cliffs, mountains. It's completely against the cliche. Like, am I in Saudi Arabia? I mean, completely different. That was freaking amazing to see this. It's like not, I know it's stupid, but the cliche you have is like, it's going to be a big desert. And now it's not. And it's like, it's absolutely stunning and beautiful. And people, so I was, at some point, because 5 hours is long, man, at some point I did a pit stop. So I just stopped the car on the side of the road just to stretch my legs. And you see the truck drivers, they honk me. How are you? How are you?
Oh, that's nice.
People are smiling. People are waving at you. I was like, this is not. And nobody cared that I was in a t-shirt. Nobody cared that my better half, she was in a t-shirt. She never had to wear the veil.
Really?
I'll come to that in a bit. No, never, man. Honestly, I don't know how it was before. I cannot tell. I'm not saying it's the case ever. I don't know. I forgot for a while, for 6 days that I was in Saudi Arabia, the way I had the cliche in my head. It's what I'm trying to say. And the thing that also is that I loved about it, going back to the discussion we just had about people, is that you basically meet only Saudis. Of course, they have in the service industry, they have, people, foreigners from other countries, Lebanese, etc. But you meet a lot of Saudi. I mean, not that I would interact with every single Saudi I met, but the random encounters are Saudis, and they're very, they're very hospitable, their English is not great. Not all of them. I mean, of course, in the service industry, hospitality industry, it would be. But outside of it, forget it. Especially when I was driving. I mean, they were looking at me sometimes like, what is this white dude in a BMW doing in the middle of the mountains? Because most people would have taken that flight that I was just mentioning. They would have put the dates so they could have made the flight. But that was the experience that I loved because I could have these memories of, I said I could, because I was driving, I couldn't take a lot of pictures, but like the people, like there was this guy that we're trying to get fuel. So imagine that you're in Saudi Arabia, you're supposed to have, grade 95 fuel. That's what they told me at at the car rental. Say, please put grade 95. I go to this petrol station, there's 91 and 95. He says, 95? No, 91. I'm like, no, I don't want 91. So I'll go to the next one. I try to find 91. They were running out of 95. I'm like,
in Saudi Arabia.
They're supposed to have, you're like, what? Anyway, and I remember this guy that was gruffy. I know I'm going to go back to Indiana Jones, but Salah, the character. So that character, he was the guy who clearly was because in Saudi Arabia, somebody puts the petrol in your car. That's one of the things you don't put yourself. It's considered rude. So you just wait and they do it. And guy looks like gruffy, like a kind of Salah type of character, doesn't speak a word of English. And I'm trying to tell him I need 95. And he's looking at me. I think he guesses. So he takes a pen, writes on his hand 91. And I say, no. He takes the pen, writes 95. I say, yeah, 95. And he crosses 95. And he starts like shouting, not shouting in a negative way, but like showing me a direction. And clearly he was showing me the only petrol station that had 95 remaining. Again, hospitable, kind, trying to do their best. No English at all. It was, I love these moments.
Yeah.
And that made the trip for me.
Oh, that's
of course, a lot of seeing the tombs themselves in AlUla. So AlUla, the region is the size of Belgium, right? So, no, I'm not kidding. It's huge, right? So, and you have, I don't know sure they discovered all these tombs. So the ones, again, in your picturize, is that a word? Picturize Petra, but in the middle of the desert, in a high, we're like 700 meters above sea level, right? You have these structures. They say they have 110, but they probably have 300 tombs. I saw 20.
Wow.
And there's so many because for years probably they didn't have like plans to open it or whatever. So they maybe have archaeological research and that's it. But holy cow, there's unbelievable. Wow. Just unbelievable. And obviously the entire region, and then I know we're an aviation podcast, I'll go back to talking about travel. But the entire region is, as I said, prime for tourism. So the town of AlUla, which is small, they have the old town there. I'm very happy to have been now because it's still basically abandoned, being renovated because they want to, of course, rejuvenate it in a way that is very respectful to what it was. It's not one of those, we're going to put like a McDonald's in the middle of it. It's really respectful, but you can see that there are buildings, that there's a, Annabelle's in London? Then?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an Annabelle's there. You're like, what? Sorry, what? There's, so for those, you might not know, but in Geneva, if you ever do a Geneva attaché episode, my favorite restaurant is called Café de Paris. It's the original Café de Paris sauce that was invented in Geneva in 1936. It's called Café de Paris, but of course, most people think it's from Paris, but it's from Geneva. And it's next to the train station. Every time I would see my dad, we would go eat there. They're opening one in AlUla. I was like, what?
Globalized.
It's not ready, by the way. It's being built. But you can see that these licensing deals and everything have been made because they want to attract Westerners to come and spend 3-5 days. And man, you have something called the Elephant Rock. So it's basically a big rock that has the kind of, you kind of see an elephant. So, it's just a rock. I'm sorry, it's just a rock. But what they've built around it, they have made sand pits where you have you sit there around, you can order drinks, you have a DJ and they do projection mapping on that rock. It's like in the middle of the night and you're like, what's going on there? I have not even seen that it just, somebody could say, yeah, they have money to spend on these things, but they're doing it in a way that it's very agreeable. And of course you see locals, you have a bit of everything. But of course you see the locals, but we expect with the women with their fully black dress and the men with the fully white. But then, and again, we're before season, you have me normally dressed and and nobody cares. It's like a mix and you're like, yeah, it's something very special. That place is something very special, not only for the tombs, but also for what they're trying to create. Of course, it's a bit upscale. I don't think they're going for the backpackers, clearly. Not that it's going to be only upscale, like you have to be a billionaire to go there. Although the hotel I went to, I know because so many people ask me, it's called Habitas AlUla. Don't look up the price because I understand why I broke the bank to go there. But yeah, it's built in the middle of a valley, in the middle of sandstone cliffs. It's the best setting of a hotel I've ever been to. It's just something, there's a swing. It just doesn't make any sense. It's the most beautiful hotel I've ever stayed at in my life. And they have they've built art that was not made by the hotel. It was made by, again, the AlUla. They have a Royal Commission for Tourism or something. So they're building stuff, right? They have in the middle of sandstone cliffs, there's sand and suddenly you have trampolines built in the ground. And then you have and you can go trampoline in the middle of the night because they've put lights in. It's all these things. You're like, what? Now, it's fascinating. But again, if I reduce it to the thing that matters to me the most is the people. The people were so nice. And
It makes the
what you would see, what would you see probably in Jordan again, in similar countries, you know? And the advantage, again, I love the UAE for many reasons. But when I engage in the UAE with people, the only Emirati I engage with are people that work in the government. They're very super cool. I've had I think I talked in the podcast about the head of the police, and I had super fun encounters. But most of the people you encounter are foreigners. Yeah. Whereas in Saudi, you meet Saudi. And that's cool.
That is cool.
I really like. And there's this mirror building called Maraya, again, in the middle of the sandstone cliffs. They built the biggest, it's a concert hall.
Oh, wow. The
biggest mirror hall in the world, I think, is 10,000 meters square of mirrors. And it just reflects the desert and the cliffs and the sunset or the sunrise. And it's just the most crazy, beautiful thing that I've seen. Does it make sense to have that in the middle of the desert? Maybe not.
Best not to ask questions like that.
In terms of seeing it, yeah, it was really. And last call to Indiana Jones. They have so my hotel is pretty expensive. They have another part of the hotel which is 10 minutes away, which you have so it's cheaper, and you have Airstreams. So you have a lot of Airstreams. You can stay in super cool. And you have Airstreams, and you have a DJ, and you have food trucks. I went for a pizza. It was a great pizza. I mean, you have food trucks, and you have... It's really fun.
I mean, you'd never expect it.
And one of the activities during the evening, they were using one of these cliffs. They're super... these cliffs are 100 meters high in tops. And they would project movies. And the night I went there, they were projecting Indiana Jones.
Of course. Oh, that's meant to be.
Exactly, man. That was meant to be. Anyway, so then I went back, drove back. So it's 8 hours, 5 hours in these cliffs, and then 3 hours desert with no stop. I was like, I'm going to run out of fuel, not obviously. And then I went to Jeddah for 1 day. I would not say that more than 1 day is necessary. Jeddah is one of these modern cities, which is made more for business. There's an old town. It's worth visiting, but I did maybe in 2 hours. Also, it's very, very hot. When you are in AlUla, you're a little bit higher.
So
suddenly the temperatures are 31. In Jeddah, it was 38. So even though I went at 10 a.m. to avoid having too much heat, and I went on a Friday because I wanted to see the old city without anyone. So before the Friday prayers, which are at noon, there's no one. The city is basically dead. So it was great because I said, okay, I can take pictures with no one and everything. But man, it was hot.
Yeah,
it was kind of crazy hot.
Taps you.
So I understand what they say you should go more in December or January because it could be better, or obviously you stay out at night.
Yeah,
and but then there again you can see that they were building up, they were renovating the old city to make it, and again with a lot of respect because 2 buildings only were renovated. They were the same that the old ones, just renovated. So they're not building sky glass towers and stuff. So it's respectful. But I'm happy to have seen it before. Basically, the whole point for me to go is I don't like over tourism, and I'm very happy to have been there before.
It feels like you got to,
because at some point in our lives, it is when I was, especially in AlUla, I was guys, with all their building and all their trying, maybe you won't attract again. I know of our listeners, maybe many of you will not go for many of the reasons, but there will be people.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to have seen it before this becomes one of these crazy amounts of people. Anyway, Jeddah, interesting city to be at. It was fun. There, of course, there's less tourism, so you feel I'm the only white guy walking here, and I have my polo shirt, and do I feel comfortable? And everybody's in their traditional attire. Nobody cares. And same with my better half. No veil, nothing. Nobody cares.
Wow, so that is not what I expected.
Yes, exactly. So they had, for instance, made, I've heard that they, take it as you want, of course, some people can say whatever, but they've authorized men to wear shorts since February. Authorized, I don't know what that means, but anyway, probably maybe as a foreigner you would have gotten away with it, And I told you for Pakistan was the same, don't wear shorts because it's considered to be rude. Yeah, there were men in shorts. And I don't know, it just felt totally, I don't know, maybe it was very different before, but I felt at ease, and she felt at ease all the time. And that's the most important probably, because we men have it easier.
Oh, for sure.
Clearly. Right?
For sure.
So yeah, and does everybody wear the traditional attire? No, I've seen women without the veil. I know it's I don't know, it's always touchy when you start talking about religious attires, but it's one of the most asked questions I received. People were asking me, Paul, so what's going on with the attire? Well, and they asked me for the same for Pakistan. Pakistan is very surprising as well. Like a lot of women don't have the veil. It's more colorful the way they dress, probably out of culture there. I mean, I was explaining it. I don't have the time to do it today, but and in Saudi, it's more like black and white, basically, right? It's more neutral. But yeah, I don't know. It probably has been very different. I'm not here telling you that it's going to change. And I don't know what's going on. I'm not making any stance. I'm just saying that it felt very easy and at ease. I forgot I was in Saudi Arabia. That's what I'm saying. I forgot I was in the Saudi Arabia I had built in my head.
Yeah. It sounds completely contrary to what I would have expected.
It's a Middle Eastern country. I mean, Middle Eastern countries because you've been to Oman. It's a Middle Eastern country, man. It's like the same type of food, the same type of laughs, the same type of smile, the same type of hospitality, the same type of warmth. The same thing, guys, that you've seen in other places is basically in Saudi Arabia, with the caveat that they've not used to tourism, but they're still very nice. You can see that there are gaps in the customer service, basically. Because they're not being trained the way that they've been trained maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's a generation of training. If you look at somewhere like the UAE.
Yeah, exactly. So then I went to the airport, back to the airport Jeddah. So I was at Hilton Corniche. The Corniche is a new area. It's great because you walk on the sea. It's the Red Sea. It's very nice, especially at night. So it's one of these things when your flight is at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So I still kept the hotel room for the second night so I could sleep a little. I'll take a shower. And then I said, you know what? Like around midnight, I'll take the car, go to the airport. The airport is 20 minutes away. And then I'll give the car away. And then I'll, and then find a lounge and whatever. Yeah, I forgot that I'm in a Middle Eastern country. Traffic at midnight is like rush hour LA in the middle of the day. Man, it took me an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, no.
So much. Not that I was not stressed because it was very early, but so much traffic. And they do drive like crazy at that point. I was like, I'm a good driver because that's my Greek genes kicking in. And I was like, okay, fine. You want to play that game? I'll play it. And I'll actually secure my way. And the only thing I had in the back of my head is like, I don't want to destroy that car. It's a rental. I don't want to have some crazy stuff on my credit card. I didn't. It was all good. So pay attention if you have to go to the airport late at night. It's actually crazy. It was Friday night, so that's their weekend, right? So it was their way out. And so I arrived at Jeddah, gave the car. It was super easy again. And then I realized how big the thing is because I told you how big, but when you arrive, you never see the same scale as when you depart. There's probably, and I'm not kidding, 220 counters, checking counters. It's like massive, and it's beautifully lit with blue LEDs, and it has like this kind of weird shaped roof that slightly goes down on the side. It's beautiful and big, like it's massive. It's very easy to find. I found Emirates, but that's when I realized that I was happy to be early. I was 3 hours early. The flight was at 4:20, and I was 1:20, whatever. So 3 hours early, and I see the queue, and I'm like, what the hell? The queue for economy, and thank God I have gold anyway, the queue for economy was probably 2 hours long.
What? Were there multiple flights?
And that's the thing when I realized that I didn't realize on the way in because I was in first and I basically overtook, I never saw what happened in economy, especially again, because at Dubai, when you board, you board separately from economy, so you don't see economy.
Of course.
There's a lot of people going for the pilgrimage. And thus, again, it's not the pilgrimage, it's not Haji Umrah, it's pilgrimage that they do all year long, but they're leaving, and there are groups, and it's I would say funny. You see these groups of people from clearly Southeast Asia, so probably Indonesia, because also Muslim country, etc. And there's a group of 20. They all have the same color suitcase, the same color T-shirt. Like they clearly organized groups, but they never traveled. You can see they have no idea what they're doing. And I say that not with condescension,
no,
right? I just say that with because at security, they had no idea. Oh my God, there's no security fast track. There's no it's dedicated. It's like the only thing that's going to be very Saudi, though, and I get it. There's one male and female security that's separated. So my better half had to go to a different line. But you could see, and because I was aware of that, I'm like, I'm going to choose. There's so many security because it's again big airport. I was like, I'm going to choose security when I see there's not one of these groups. Yeah. But then I could still see them, and they had no idea what to do, and they were and that's fascinating. I was at that queue again. Sorry, I'm going backtrack a little bit. I was queuing. My queuing for business on Emirates was 10 minutes, not even. But I was like, why? Everybody had massive amounts of luggage. But they were big boxes. I was like, what the hell? And then I realized they were all checking holy water. Crazy. The number of boxes of holy water that were being checked in was insane. They all had their box, which is a secure box or whatever. And even including, by the way, in front of me for people that were going in first in business class, they all also had holy water that they were checking in. That's something I've never seen.
I would never have thought about that.
No, me neither. It's and so some of them, when they were doing security, clearly some of the water they had in their little bottle, they were like, oh God, I cannot keep it. There was all these drama. And I was like, oh my God. And then that's how I kind of recon, oh my God. Anyway. And then, so I exit security. I go back to that tram, the tram that leads you where the gates are, the international gates are. And I told you how fast the tram is. And then I realized that also probably because they have a lot of these groups that are not really used to travel. You have a lot of staff, and the staff is like, go, 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 now, go, go, go. Like they direct you. And I'm like, what the hell? I like going fast in an airport. But I was like, God, you're stressing me out, guys. And you're entered, and the tram literally arrives, the door opens, and I think the door opens for exactly 12 seconds. So you go, 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 and the tram is about to leave. The tram door shuts off. The tram goes 500 miles per hour, goes on the other side. Go, go, go. You're like, what the hell? It's, super efficient, but it's clearly really, man, it's so fast. I like it, but even me that I like it, I'm like, what the hell? You're stressing me out with going that fast. It's just interesting. Wow. Interesting way of doing things. Exit immigration was very easy. And to your point earlier, they clearly they randomize what they check against when you enter. For me, it was one finger. They asked me, this finger, I put in this finger, probably they checked. So maybe some people, they checked the picture against what they had at the entrance, etc. So they have some very easy, the lounge is called Welcome. That's where you feel that the airport is not ready, is not finalized yet. The lounge is very, first the signage again, it's very hard to find a lounge. I'm like, the hell? This is being a round thing with all gates around, and there's a second floor with all the lounges, and it's very difficult to find your way, I find. Even though, again, it was maybe also 2 a.m. and I was half tired. And I was like, where is the lounge? And the lounge was not even a third open, and it was a bit dry. It was nothing special. But it's nice to have, my better half, she fell asleep on the seat of the lounge, and I went to kind of wander around and see the airport because design-wise is nice. Then enter the aircraft. We're basically alone in business class.
Really?
There was no one.
How interesting.
So it was nice. We slept. Then very short, like an hour and 20 minutes at Dubai. The good thing is that we arrive at, I think, gate A12. We depart for gate A9. So easy. Fantastic. So you're very easy, and we're half asleep. And that's when I realized, I'm like, never happened to me. I go at the boarding of the second flight, and she's like, Paul, where's the duty-free bag?
Oh, no.
Where is the duty-free bag? Where's the duty-free bag? And I'm like, so I go back to where we're seated in the lounge. In my head, I'm like, oh, I know. It's on my seat in the previous
Oh, no.
There had been that woman that I had overtaken entering the first flight. And then I felt bad that I overtook her, and she had difficulty putting her luggage on in the overhead bin. So I helped her. And on the way out, I said, okay, I'm going to be a nice boy. I'm going to help her remove that same luggage. And when I did that, I remember I put the bag, I put it into the side to help her. I exit the aircraft, I left the bag in. Never mind. So my dates, I used, because the reason I mention it is because it's very efficient. You can go on the website of Emirates, lost and found. You say the flight number, everything you lost, and within 30 minutes, I was not even taken off. I had an answer. And it said, we're sorry, sir, we don't have trace from, because again, there were dates in the bag. So, it's not as if it's a computer. So
that's cool that they have that system, though.
Yeah, so it's very well run. I didn't expect that. And by the way, so I'm hoping that you enjoyed my dates with her. and then the flight, I arrive at my seat, upgraded to a broken seat, as you said. Alex, I arrive at my seat, and there's a crew waiting on my seat, and your seat is broken. Oh, sorry. And then, man, there's love or upgrade. Which one would you choose?
Upgrade.
I chose. I'm a better person than you.
No, are you kidding me? I would have upgraded my wife.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I should have done. Anyway, the point is, it was not clear. Because we were on different PNRs, different bookings. So when I arrived, she says, the lady says, your seat is broken, we'll try to put you somewhere else. Which at some point, if I had been alone, I would be like, okay, you're going to put me in first class because the seat is broken. But the first thing I said is, yeah, but that person next to me were together. But they didn't have that information. So that's only, I think shoot. So what they did, they asked the engineer to come in too. We delayed the flight to kind of reset the row. And again, clearly something from 2010. So they need a refresh because nothing was working correctly. So by the time they were able to reset the seat, that broke the IFE. Probably also the IFE of the person behind. So it led to a whole lot of, oh my God. The crew was super nice about it. And I was like, I didn't want to be, I'm easy. I'm like, if the IFE doesn't work, I mean, of course, I'd rather have it work because I had nothing to do for 7 hours or something. But, okay, they made it work. The IFE was really flimsy. I mean, it worked at the end, but every time I wanted to go rewind, the thing would reset.
That's weird.
I had to wait 3 minutes and then to play the movie again. And the flight was full. I didn't ask. At that point, maybe I could have. But I said, you know what? I'm fine with it. The crew because there's been issues, the crew was maybe nicer than they were. So it was nice. I didn't care. Land in London. You know how you know you're in London? Well, they tell you they have no gate for you. And then, of course, my luggage was broken.
Broken?
Yeah. First time it arrived to me, I went to DNATA, so the handlers of Emirates. I filed the thing. Thank God, it was broken, but nothing exited the luggage if you want. So it was, all my contents were there. And very well run, man.
That's good.
I could track all the thing on Emirates. They sent someone to pick the luggage up because it was a Travel Pro. They said, we can repair those. So they sent someone to pick it up at home. 2 days later, DHL got my luggage back repaired. And it's like exactly repaired. So it's not a new one, but it's completely, I cannot find a fault. It's just perfect.
That's amazing.
It's great. Yeah. So all in all, it took me a week. And the week was the 5 days waiting for someone to actually pick it up because I think they're subcontracting, obviously, to someone here in the UK. But it's really well done. So, yeah.
That's not an experience I've ever had before. I mean, I've had broken luggage, but I've never had repair like that before.
Usually they would replace give me either they give you a voucher. Or they pay a new one. Yeah, exactly. So, no, man. It's a fantastic,
Sounds like a hell
experience.
Of an adventure.
But would you, after what I told you, would you actually book Emirates?
Well, it definitely feels like the experience is starting to fray, and I think I would look at the other ME2.
Yeah.
But that's disappointing. I mean, I trust Emirates, and I'm sure that Tim Clark is aware of this, and they are working on it. But you don't want this period of limbo to go on for too long. Otherwise, people will lose faith.
No, they need that refresh. Because honestly, you know how it is. When stuff like this just happens, at least I was not angry, but I was like, F Emirates, never going to fly them again. I'm going to fly Qatar from now on. Obviously, I'm not like that. But you know how it is. But when I, cool head, I'm like, look, Qatar is a better business class. The food at Qatar was better. I flew them a few times as well this year, right? The food at Qatar was better. I think the crew, and here I'm being very specific, the crew on London routes is not great on Qatar.
Oh, that's
I don't know.
interesting.
It seems to me that the Qatar staff doesn't like to be put on London routes. So I find them always a bit kind of off-putting, the crew that is on London routes, whereas anywhere else is super nice. So I would give the crew to Emirates on that route, but the food is better on Qatar. The first class, of course, if you're lucky to upgrade, is better because it almost doesn't exist on Qatar, right? It's better on Emirates. One thing that you and me probably appreciate on Emirates is that it's very easy to understand how much you need to upgrade, etc. It's so easy. Qatar is like BA. It's like, I don't know what's going on. I cannot count of maybe I will.
You don't know what fare bucket
Emirates
is
so
to do that. Yeah, it's so easy on Emirates.
Yeah. So that also is something that keeps me. But let's see, the refresh, which is all across all the cabins, is really, 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 really needed, man. Because look, even I don't expect to have amenity kits all the time. And sometimes Qatar is a bit silly. They give you an amenity kits, it's like they're just like perfume in it. And I'm like, why am I going to do with perfume? It's a brand thing. They have like these brand partnerships and they give you a perfume. Emirates used to give you like amenity kits all the time. I'm at that 4 a.m. flight from Jeddah to Dubai. No amenity kits, no eye shade.
Oh, that's definitely becoming a trend, unfortunately.
And you're like, no eye shade. Let's just give me an eye shade, because Emirates sometimes, they leave the eye shade usually on the seat next to on the you've flown business class. No, they didn't. No eye shade. There was no. Usually, I would always prefer amenity kits of Emirates because they have stuff that you actually use.
Yeah.
But this time they were not given any. And I'm like, again, I don't need amenity kits. I always said I prefer to have stuff maybe stacked in a bathroom for people to use. But yeah, you pay them the same money, man.
Yeah, that's disappointing. It's one of the things that I look forward to.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just I think next year we'll fly more Qatar.
Yeah. Well, you have options. That's the thing. It's like there are options, and they're worth exploring.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And well, there you go. Sorry, it was a lot of me. Oh yeah, I need to address this. Because alcohol, and then I'll finish. So alcohol, yes, the flights. So the country, Saudi Arabia, is dry, like 100% dry. It's not like. Of course, not like UAE, or it's not even like Doha. I mean, it's in the spotlight right now, where in Doha you can have alcohol in some dedicated hotels. Let's not talk about the World Cup. Pakistan, like as I explained, you can. But for the flights to Jeddah was dry to the point that I could see that when I was booking, because, usually Emirates says, oh, do you want to check the wine list before departing? There was no wine list available. And also on the way back, I'm wondering of the way back, however, is it because of a law, or because since we don't carry alcohol to Jeddah, we're not going to have any anyway on the way back. So we're not, anyway. So there's no alcohol. I didn't miss alcohol a single minute in my whole week in Saudi Arabia. That's just me. Funny bit with Pakistan, because people ask me, so 3 cities, 3 different cases. I don't know what the law is. When I entered Karachi, as much alcohol as you want when you depart. Like, it's 4 a.m. Here it's like 5 champagnes. When I'm in Lahore, in Qatar Airways, they say, do you want water? Orange juice? Champagne. And they lower their voice to almost, I was like, did you just say champagne? In Islamabad, we do not serve alcohol because it's against the rules of the country. So it seems that Pakistan has 3 cities, 3 different.
Yeah, that's interesting. But you did say that.
But for Jeddah, for Saudi Arabia, guys, there's no alcohol. The rumors at some point there will be. I don't know, but I didn't miss it for a second. But so don't expect to fly and have a champagne in first class to go to Jeddah. And by the way, that was one of the reasons I think I didn't fly Saudi, because I'm like, still, it's nice to have
an option.
Just 1 cup of champagne goes with a full flight for me. There you go. Sorry, that was a very long
it's fascinating.
description. And
I'm waiting for that one for a long time.
I'm sure I've missed a lot of things. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of questions again about the attire, the veil, and a lot of, especially female friends ask me. It's not, never been requested, never been an issue, never been. Yeah, it's fascinating, honestly. It's, she was very, Mel was very, wow, she was like, I didn't expect that at all.
I certainly didn't expect that.
Like, you shouldn't have a veil, but you should prepare something you can put in your head in case and whatever. Nope, nobody. And we saw people in like local women in t-shirts.
Wow. The times
So
are
then
changing.
you're like, oh, I'm okay. I can be in a t-shirt because you never know. You don't want to be also too.
Yeah.
No, honestly, no judgment here. But I understand that some people will never go. Like some people will never go to Qatar or never fly Qatar Airways, etc. I do understand all this, and we respect the different. But it's a fascinating experience. Maybe you'll never go. If you have any questions, just ask me. And sorry because I spoke for nearly an hour and 45 minutes. I don't know how many. And Alex needs to go.
Indeed.
So do you have another flight?
No, nothing
You're just
at the
watching
moment.
the World Cup. Yeah, same here. Nothing at the moment. So we'll do another one probably before the end of the year. And I promise you this time will be Alex talking for an hour and a half. So I'm going to shut up because you've been very tired of
No, not at all. It's a fascinating story.
The end credits. Where is it? There you go. Well, yeah. So Florence, another city of God, I was about to say. Another city of heavily influenced by another religion, Catholicism. So you'll tell us all about it next time.
I will.
Did you like it?
Yeah, we had a good experience there.
What do you mean? Yeah, that didn't feel like very enthusiastic.
There were elements that were beautiful for sure. I can see the appeal.
Yeah, and elements that were very too over touristed in being in Italy. Yeah, you are curious. I can see that. I think last time I was in, it was like 10 years ago, but I landed in.
Oh
Pisa,
yeah, that's what a lot
in
of
Firenze.
that's often the case.
Yeah, the lounge of Pisa Airport is vomit. I'll explain next time. Happy
Safe travels,
flying.
guys.